Hello there and welcome to the Sleepy Universe story. The world outside can be busy and loud, but few things slow down. This is a quiet place W. Here curious minds can drift off to sleep or simply learn a thing or two while relaxing. Tonight, we're not just looking at forests, caves, and oceans. We are stepping into them to discover some of nature's most magical secrets. We'll uncover wonders that most people never see, a flower that blooms only once in a lifetime, stones that seem to walk on their own, storms that have raged for us, detours, and trees older than entire civilizations. We'll travel gently, fact by fact, through deserts that burst into sudden bloom, rivers that run beneath the sea, and the quiet impossible ways life survives in every corner of Earth. Some of what you hear tonight may surprise you. Some may stay with you like the scent of rain after a summer storm. And just before we begin, if these calm, curious explorations help you unwind or give you a quiet way to end your day, consider liking and subscribing, or simply sharing your thoughts down in the comments. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. A single teaspoon of soil can contain more life than there are people on Earth. Beneath your feet is a world you rarely see. In just 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, there can be billions of microscopic organisms, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and countless tiny creatures like nematodes and mites. This living network breaks down fallen leaves, recycles nutrients, and even communicates with plants through chemical signals. Many of these organisms are too small to imagine clearly, but together they form the foundation of every ecosystem on land. Without them, plants would struggle to grow and the chain of life above the soil would collapse. Scientists are still discovering new species in soil samples, life forms that have never been named or studied. It's humbling to think that under the sole of your shoe lies a teeming city of life so vast it dwarfs the entire human population, quietly working to keep our world alive. Certain plants can move fast enough to catch prey. Most plants move too slowly for us to notice, growing and bending over days or weeks. But some species move with surprising speed, fast enough to trap an unsuspecting insect. The Venus flytrap, for instance, can snap its leaves shut in less than a second when tiny hairs inside the trap are touched twice in quick succession. Some do curl their sticky leaves inward, while the water plant spins its traps underwater. These movements happen thanks to changes in water pressure inside the plant cells, triggered by touch. To the insect, it's over in an instant. One moment it's exploring, the next it's caught. These plants live in nutrient-poor soils, so catching and digesting prey gives them the nitrogen they need to survive. Watching one in action feels almost unsettling, as if the plant has made a decision. Some trees can live for thousands of years in the quiet corners of the world. There are trees so old that entire civilizations have risen and fallen in their lifetime. The bristlecone pines of the American West are among the most ancient, with some individuals exceeding 4,000 years of age. They grow slowly, twisting into sculpted forms. Under wind and snow, their bark withered, but still alive. Inside the tree's core holds a living record of every year that's passed, wet years and dry years, storms and seasons. These trees have survived without being uprooted, simply by adapting, letting parts of themselves die back in harsh years, then growing again when conditions improve. And you stand near one, you're in the presence of something that began life before the pyramids were built, and it's still quietly making new leaves, one spring after another. Certain fungi can control the minds of insects. In the undergrowth of tropical forests, a strange drama unfolds. The Opiocordyceps fungus infects ants and other insects, spreading through their bodies. Once inside, it releases chemicals that alter the insect's behavior, compelling it to leave its colony and climb to a high exposed perch. There, the fungus kills its host, growing a stalk from its body. that releases spores into the air, ready to infect others below. This isn't random. The height and position are perfect for spreading spores as far as possible. To us, it seems almost like science fiction, a parasite hijacking its host's nervous system to turn it into a vehicle for its own reproduction. Yet, it's a natural part of the rainforest's complex web of life, both unsettling and fascinating in its precision. There are places where it rains fish. In a small town in Honduras called Euro, residents have a name for a rare but remarkable event, lluvia to pieces, the rain of fish. Several times a year, usually after intense thunderstorms, people find small fish flopping in the streets and fields. Scientists think powerful winds or water spouts may lift fish from nearby rivers or the sea and carry them inland before dropping them with the rain. Some locals see it as a miracle, while others treat it as a natural oddity. Similar reports have appeared in other parts of the world involving frogs, crabs, and even jellyfish. To witness it must feel surreal, to hear the rain fall, then see it glittering with the movement of living creatures tumbling from the sky. Some animals can survive being frozen solid. In the far north, certain creatures can pause their lives in the most extreme way imaginable by freezing. The wood frog of Alaska, for example, can let up to 2/3 of its body water turn to ice. During winter, its heart stops beating, its blood stops flowing, and yet it isn't dead. Special compounds in its body like glucose and urea act as natural antifreeze, preventing its cells from bursting. When spring returns and the temperature rises, the frog thorns out, its heart begins to beat, and it hops away as if nothing happened. So, the insects, fish, and even tiny microscopic tardigrades use similar strategies. It's a survival method that seems impossible, yet nature has refined it over millions of years, allowing life to persist in places where winter is more like a months-long deep freeze. Lightning strikes Earth millions of times every day. Across the globe, lightning is flashing somewhere at this very moment. Scientists estimate that roughly 8 million strikes occur each day, more than 90 times per second. These bolts form when electrical charges build up inside clouds or between clouds and the ground. The air on a bolt heats to over 30 C in an instant, hotter than the surface of the sun. That sudden heat makes the air expand explosively, creating thunder. Lightning doesn't just light up the sky. It also plays a role in our planet's chemistry, helping form compounds like nitrogen oxides that plants need. In the tropics, where storms are frequent, the night horizon often flickers with distant flashes, a silent reminder that the atmosphere is constantly alive with energy. Some fish can walk on land. In tidal zones and swampy areas, certain fish have learned to move beyond the water. The mud skipper, found in parts of Asia and Africa, uses its strong pectoral fins to walk across mud flats, searching for food and avoiding predators. It can breathe through its skin and the lining of its mouth and throat as long as it stays moist. Other fish, like the climbing perch, can survive out of water for days and even move between ponds. These unusual adaptations allow them to exploit environments where purely aquatic fish can't survive. Watching a fish pull itself along the ground feels almost like seeing evolution in action. A glimpse of the ancient past when Faye was first testing the edges of land. The Amazon rainforest makes its own rain. The Amazon is so vast and dense that it creates its own weather each day. The forest releases billions of liters of water vapor into the air through a process called transpiration. This moisture rises, cools, and condenses into clouds, which later fall back as rain, feeding the forest that produced it. This cycle helps the Amazon stay green and lush even during drier months. It also influences weather far beyond South America, affecting rainfall patterns thousands of kilometers away. The sheer scale is hard to imagine from above. The rainforest breathes out great plumes of moisture, shaping its own climate and acting like a giant heart, pumping water into the atmosphere. There are rivers that flow under the ocean. Beneath the waves, where sunlight fades, rivers can still flow. These underwater rivers aren't made of fresh water, but of dense, salty, or say, diamond currents that travel along the seafloor. One example is found in the Black Sea, where a powerful current snakes for over 100 kilometers beneath the surface. These rivers carve channels, carry nutrients, and shape the seabed just like rivers on land. They often occur where bodies of water with different salinities meet, creating a boundary where the heavier water sinks and flows separately. Divers who have explored them describe an eerie sensation swimming through one river inside another, the layers visibly distinct in the dim underwater light. Some deserts bloom with flowers overnight. Deserts can seem lifeless, but their soils often hide seeds lying dormant for years, waiting for the right moment. After a rare soaking rain, these seeds can germinate almost immediately. In hours to days, the barren ground transforms into a carpet of color, yellows, purples, reds, as thousands of plants bloom at once. The spectacle can last only a short time before the heat returns, drying the flowers and scattering seeds for the next cycle. In places like the Atacama Desert in Chile, these super blooms can be seen from space, an explosion of life against one of the harsh estate landscapes on Earth. It's nature's reminder that even in the most unlikely places, beauty and abundance can appear in an instant. There are lakes that never freeze, even in the coldest winters. Lakes defy the seasons. In frigid regions, most water surfaces lock into ice, but a few lakes stay liquid all year. This can happen for several reasons. Some are fed by warm underground springs that keep the water above freezing. Others are extremely deep with temperatures in the depths that help regulate the surface. In volcanic areas, geothermal heat seeps upward, creating pockets of open water, even when the surrounding landscape is frozen solid. These lakes become crucial havens for wildlife in winter, drawing birds and mammals to drink and feed. In the stark quiet of a snowy plain, the sight of open, rippling water feels almost magical, a reminder that warmth can hide in unexpected places, sustaining life against the odds. Coral reefs are built by tiny animals. When you picture a coral reef, you might think of colorful rock-like structures teeming with fish, but the reef itself is alive, built by countless tiny animals called coral polyp. Each polyp secretes a hard skeleton of calcium carbonate, and over centuries, these skeletons pile up into massive structures. New generations of polyp live on top of the old, creating a living city in each. Coral reefs provide food and shelter for thousands of species, acting as nurseries for many fish. Though delicate, they can stretch for hundreds of kilometers like the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. From above, they look like vivid patches in blue water. But up close, each ridge and curve is the work of animals no bigger than a grain of rice, slowly shaping the ocean floor, one tiny layer at a time. Some birds can fly for months without landing. The common swift is one of nature's most tireless travelers. Once it leaves the nest, it may spend months in the air without tucking down, eating, sleeping, and even mating on the wing. Scientists have tracked swifts migrating thousands of kilometers, looping between continents, riding air currents to conserve energy. They can sleep in brief bursts, gliding while part of their brain rests. Other species, like certain albatrosses, also cover vast distances over open ocean without landing, using wind patterns to stay aloft. Imagine living in the sky for so long as to see life from a completely different perspective, one where the land is just a distant idea and the horizon is the only constant. The air and forest see and act like a natural medicine. Walk into a forest, breathe deeply, and you might feel an almost instant calm. Part of this comes from chemicals released by trees called phytoncides. These compounds help protect plants from pests and disease. But when we inhale them, they can lower stress hormones and even boost immune function. In Japan, this practice of spending mindful time in forests is known as shinyoku or forest bathing. The effect isn't just psychological. Studies have shown measurable health benefits after time spent among trees. It's as if the forest shares a small part of its resilience with us, a quiet exchange between two living beings carried on the air itself. Volcanoes can create new islands. When an undersea volcano erupts, molten rock can build up until it rises above the water's surface, forming brand new land. These volcanic islands may begin as barren steaming rock, but over time winds and currents bring seeds, birds, and marine life, starting the slow process of colonization. Some islands vanish again as waves erode them, while others grow into permanent homes for plants, animals, and even people. In 1963, an eruption off the coast of Iceland created the island of Chertsey, which became a living laboratory for scientists studying how ecosystems begin from scratch. To watch a whole island appear where there was once only the ocean is to see Earth reshaping itself in real time. Some animals can regrow entire limbs. If a salamander loses a leg, it can grow a new one. Bones, muscles, nerves, and all. Certain species can even regenerate parts of their heart, eyes, or spinal cord. Starfish can regrow lost arms. And if the central body remains intact, some can regenerate an entirely new starfish from a single leaf. This remarkable ability comes from specialized cells that can turn into any type of tissue needed. Humans share some of the same genetic pathways, but ours are far less active. Scientists study these animals in hopes of unlocking ways to heal severe injuries in people. In nature, regeneration is more than a trick. It's a survival strategy, allowing creatures to escape predators and recover fully from damage that would be permanent for most life. Glaciers can move like rivers of ice. Though they seem frozen in place, glaciers are constantly on the move. Gravity pulls them downhill, and over months and years the ice flows like an incredibly slow river. The speed can be just a few cm a day, or in rare surges several meters. As glaciers move, they grind rock into fine powder, carve valleys, and reshape landscapes. When they retreat, they leave behind lakes, ridges, and fertile soil. Watching a glacier move in real time is nearly impossible without special equipment, but satellite images and time-lapse photography reveal their steady, relentless motion, a reminder that even the most solid things on Earth are not truly still. There are caves filled with giant crystals. In northern Mexico lies the Cave of the Crystals, a hidden chamber discovered in the year 2000 beneath a working mine. Inside are some of the largest natural crystals ever found. Selenite columns as long as 15 meters gleaming in the dim light. The cave's extreme heat and humidity make it dangerous to enter without protection, but those who have described it as stepping into a world out of a dream where the walls themselves seem alive with light. These crystals grew over hundreds of thousands of years in mineral-rich water kept at a constant temperature. Another worldly reminder of the slow artistry of geology. Some plants communicate through underground networks. Beneath the forest floor, fungi form vast networks of thin threads called mycelium, connecting the roots of different plants. Through this wood wide web, plants can share nutrients, send chemical signals, and even warn each other about pests. A tree under attack might release signals that prompt its neighbors to produce protective compounds, or an older tree might send sugars to a shaded sapling. This cooperation blurs the lines between individual and community, revealing a hidden layer of intelligence in ecosystems. What looks like a quiet forest from above is below the surface, buzzing with silent conversation. There are forests growing on floating islands, in lakes and wetlands, mats of soil, roots, and vegetation break free from the shore and drift across the water. Over time, grasses and shrubs take hold and even trees can grow, their roots tangling through the floating mass. Some islands are small enough to drift with the wind, others anchor temporarily before breaking loose again. These floating forests provide shelter for birds, insects, and fish below, and can last for decades. In some parts of the world, they're woven into local folklore. Places that seem to appear and vanish with the seasons. They're a reminder that even something as grounded as a forest can learn to wander. Certain butterflies can see colors humans can't. Our eyes detect 3 primary colors of light: red, green, and blue, which combine into all the shades we see. But some butterflies have far more complex eyes with receptors for additional colors, including ultraviolet. This lets them see patterns on flowers and even on other butterflies that are invisible to us. These hidden markings help them find food, identify mates, or avoid predators. To imagine what they see is to imagine a world painted with colors we have no names for, a spectrum beyond our experience, but as real as the sunlight on our own skin. Some animals can change their sex to survive. In certain fish species, like clownfish and wrasses, sex isn't fixed. If the dominant female in a group dies, the largest male may change into a female to take her place. Some species switch from female to male instead, ensuring the population and can still reproduce. These transformations aren't just behavioral. The animals' bodies undergo profound biological changes, altering hormone levels, reproductive organs, and even physical appearance. It's a survival strategy shaped by millions of years of evolution, allowing them to adapt instantly to the needs of their community. The tallest waves in the ocean can form without storms. Most waves are born from wind, but rogue waves can appear suddenly, towering over the surrounding sea without any storm to warn of their arrival. These giants form when smaller waves merge and combine their energy, creating a single wall of water that can be twice as tall as anything nearby. Once thought to be sailors' myths, rogue waves have been recorded by satellites and ocean buoys, some rising over 30 meters high. They're rare but dangerous, powerful enough to damage large ships. Out in the open ocean, they can come and go in moments, a reminder that the sea has surprises hidden even in calm weather. There are flowers that bloom only once every few decades. Some plants invest years, even decades, in preparing for a single flowering. The agave, for example, can take 30 years to bloom, sending up a tall stalk covered in blossoms, before dying soon after. In the Himalayas, the rare Himalayan lily waits years for the perfect conditions before unfolding its pale blooms. These long waits often coincide with mass flowerings, overwhelming pollinators, and ensuring seeds are spread far and wide. It's a gamble, but for the plants that succeed, it's a way to leave behind countless offspring in one brilliant, fleeting moment. Some lakes change color depending on the season. In certain places, the same lake can appear deep blue in summer, green in spring, or even pink. At times, these changes often come from shifts in algae growth, mineral content, or the way sunlight scatters in the water. For example, Australia's Lake Helia is famously bubblegum pink year-round due to unique microorganisms, while other lakes shift as their algae populations rise and fall. Standing at the shore, it's hard to believe the water hasn't been dyed. Yet, it's all the work of year's chemistry, painting the surface in seasonal tones. Certain animals never stop growing, while most creatures have a set adult size. Some continue to grow throughout their lives, a trait called indeterminate growth. Many species of fish, reptiles, and amphibians grow larger each year, provided they have enough food and survive long enough. This is why some giant catfish, turtles, or crocodiles can reach extraordinary sizes in the wild. It also means the largest individuals are often the oldest, carrying decades of experience in their slow, deliberate movements. Earth's magnetic field helps animals find their way. From sea turtles crossing oceans to birds migrating between continents, many animals can sense Earth's magnetic field. This sixth sense comes from special ice cells or magnetic particles in their bodies, allowing them to navigate even when landmarks aren't visible. Some use it as a backup when clouds block the stars or the sun. Exact mechanisms are still being studied, but experiments show that altering magnetic cues can change an animal's direction. It's as if they carry an invisible compass tuned to the planet itself. There are trees that can walk to find sunlight. In parts of Central and South America, the walking palm grows multiple stilt-like roots that can slowly replace each other. If one side of the tree is shaded, it grows new roots toward the light and lets the old ones die away, shifting its trunk slightly over time. While it doesn't stride across the forest, it can change position by several 900 a year, enough to reach better conditions. It's a slow-motion form of movement that challenges our idea of plants as entirely fixed in place. Some plants can store water for years. In the harshest environments, survival can depend on finding water where none seems to exist. Certain plants, like the baobab tree of Africa or desert succulents, store massive reserves of water in their trunk's stems or leaves. A baobab's swollen trunk can hold thousands of liters, sustaining it through years of drought. These stores also support birds, insects, and mammals during dry seasons and landscapes where rain might not fall for months or years. These plants are living reservoirs holding life inside until the world turns green again. There are forests growing on floating islands, in lakes, marshes, and wetlands. Pieces of land can break free from the shore and drift away, carrying their vegetation with them. These floating islands begin as mats of tangled roots and soil, often formed when heavy rains or floods loosen the shoreline. Over time, grasses, shrubs, and even full-grown trees can take root on them, their weight balanced by the buoyancy of the dense root network below. Some are small enough to shift with every breeze, while others are large enough to host entire miniature forests. They become havens for nesting birds and insects, offering safety from land predators. In some places, local legends speak of islands that appear, vanish with the seasons, drifting silently across the water. Watching a forest move, however slowly, feels like seeing something that should be impossible. A reminder that even the most grounded landscapes can decide to wander. Certain butterflies can see colors humans can't. The human eye is tuned to 3 primary colors: red, green, and blue. And from these, we perceive our entire visible spectrum. But certain butterflies, like the painted lady or the colon bluebottle, have far more complex vision. Their eyes contain additional types of photoreceptor cells that detect ultraviolet light, allowing them to see colors and patterns invisible to us. On flowers, these hidden patterns guide them straight to nectar, like runway lights on a landing strip. On other butterflies, ultraviolet markings can signal health, readiness to mate, or warnings to stay away. We can't imagine exactly what their world looks like, but scientists believe it would be like adding entirely new hues to the rainbow. Colors we have no names for, patterns that appear and vanish with the changing light, and a constant glow to flowers that seem ordinary to our eyes. Some animals can see, hence their sex to survive. In the underwater world, social balance often determines survival. Clownfish, for example, live in small groups with one dominant female. If she dies, the largest mommy transforms into a female, taking her place and ensuring the group's continuity. Certain races and parrotfish switch in the opposite direction, changing from female to male when the hierarchy demands. Yet, these shifts involve sweeping hormonal changes, the remodeling of reproductive organs, and sometimes even changes in color or body size. It's not a temporary disguise. but a permanent T. Transformation. This adaptation means that no matter what happens to the group's structure, reproduction can continue. To us, it may seem extraordinary, but in these ecosystems, it's simply a practical strategy honed over millions of years that keeps life moving forward when circumstances change. The tallest waves in the ocean can form without storms. Most people imagine towering waves whipped up by violent weather, but some of the ocean's tallest walls of water appear on calm days, known as rogue waves. They form when multiple smaller waves align perfectly, combining their energies into a single massive crest. This process, called constructive interference, can create waves twice as tall as those around them, sometimes over 30 meters high. Once considered sailors' legends, rogue waves have now been confirmed by satellite data and ocean sensors. They can rise from an otherwise unremarkable sea in minutes, then vanish just as quickly. Ships caught in their path often no warming. Seeing one from the deck, a sudden wall of water blocking the horizon, would feel like the ocean itself had decided to stand up, reminding us how unpredictable and powerful it can be, even in moments of apparent calm. There are flowers that bloom only once every few decades. Some plants spend decades gathering energy for a single spectacular moment. The agave, for example, grows slowly for 30 years or more before sending up a towering stalk covered in hundreds of blossoms. Once it flowers, it dies, leaving behind seeds for the next generation. In the Himalayas, the rare Himalayan lily waits years for just the right conditions, temperature, sunlight, and soil moisture before unfolding its delicate blooms. When these plants finally bloom, they often attract swarms of pollinators, overwhelming them with abundance to ensure maximum seed spread. It's a high-stakes gamble, years of patience for one brief chance at reproduction. If the moment passes without success, the plant's long investment is lost. But when it works, the landscape transforms as if the earth has been saving up beauty for a single fleeting display. Some lakes change color depending on the season. In certain places, the same body of water can shift through a palette of colors, deep blue one season, vivid green the next, sometimes even pink or red. These changes usually come from seasonal blooms of algae, shifts in mineral concentrations, or the scattering of sunlight through the water. In Canada's Spotted Lake, mineral-rich pools turn shades of yellow, green, and blue in summer as the water evaporates. In Australia's Lake Hillier, microorganisms give the water a bubblegum pink hue year-round, but in some lakes, similar changes are temporary and tied to seasonal cycles. Standing at the shore, it can seem as if the lake has died overnight, but it's all the work of nature's chemistry, a reminder that landscapes can transform dramatically without a single human hand involved. Certain animals never stop growing. While most species have a fixed adult size, some creatures keep growing throughout their entire lives, a trait called indeterminate growth. Many fish, reptiles, and amphibians grow larger each year, provided they have enough food and avoid injury or disease. Giant catfish in Southeast Asia, for example, can reach over 2 meters in length, while saltwater crocodiles can grow for decades, eventually becoming massive apex predators. This slow, steady growth means the largest individuals are also the oldest, often dominating their environments through sheer size. These elders of their species carry decades of survival knowledge, where to find food, when to avoid danger, and their presence can shape the entire ecosystem around them. Earth's magnetic field helps animals find their way. Invisible to us, Earth's magnetic field wraps around the planet, guiding migratory animals like a hidden map. Sea turtles use it to cross oceans, later to the exact beach where they hatched. Birds navigate thousands of kilometers between breeding and wintering grounds, adjusting their routes as magnetic lines shift slightly over time. Even tiny animals like certain bacteria align themselves with magnetic fields to find optimal environments. Scientists believe this sense may come from microscopic magnetic crystals inside their bodies or from specialized proteins in their eyes that react to magnetic fields. Whatever the mechanism, it's a reminder that animals experience layers of the world we can't directly perceive, sensing forces that shape every journey they take. There are trees that can walk to find sunlight. Deep in Central and South American rainforests, the walking palm has a unique way of adjusting to changing light. It grows multiple stilt-like roots that can sprout in new directions. If part of the tree becomes shaded, it sends out roots toward brighter spots, allowing it to shift its trunk slowly, sometimes several cm a year. Over time, older roots on the shaded side dead back, leaving the tree standing in a slightly new position. Pilot doesn't walk in the way animals do. This adaptation helps it survive in dense forests where sunlight shifts constantly as other plants grow. It's a slow-motion migration, an almost imperceptible journey toward the light. Some plants can store water for years. In arid landscapes where rainfall is rare and unpredictable, certain plants have evolved to store vast amounts of water inside their tissues. The baobab tree, native to parts of Africa, can hold thousands of lepers within its swollen trunk, sustaining itself and the animals and people who tap into it. During years-long droughts, desert succulents store water in thick leaves and stems, sealing it away behind waxy coatings to prevent evaporation. These natural reservoirs act as lifelines for entire ecosystems, providing hydration in the harshest months. In many cases, the water stored in these plants is the difference between survival and collapse for the creatures sharing their environment. Rare glowing bays where the water lights up. At night, in a few rare coastal spots, the sea comes alive after dark with a soft, otherworldly glow. These bioluminescent bays are filled with microscopic organisms called dinoflagellates that emit light when disturbed. Every splash paddle or passing fish sets off tiny sparks, turning the water into liquid starlight. One of the most famous examples is Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, where the glow is so bright you can trace the path of a swimming turtle by the light it leaves behind. The effect comes from a chemical reaction inside the organisms, similar to how fireflies glow on land. Calm, shallow waters and warm temperatures create perfect conditions for these glowing displays, which can be breathtaking to witness. Dip your hand into the water and lift it out. Droplets shimmer briefly before fading, as if the ocean itself is trying to keep you in its memory. Some mountains grow taller every year. Mountains why seem solid and unchanging, but some are actually still rising. This happens because of tectonic forces deep within the Earth. Where continental plates collide, the crust is pushed upward, creating mountain ranges that continue to grow, millimeter by millimeter each year. The Himalayas, home to Mount Everest, are still rising as the Indian plate presses into the Eurasian plate, even though erosion wears mountains down over time. In places like this, the upward force outpaces the wearing away. In geological terms, it's a rapid process, though far too slow for us to notice. Day by day, scientists can measure this growth with precise satellite data, watching peaks inch higher over decades. It's a reminder that even landscapes we think of as ancient and fixed are still in motion, still being shaped by the same planetary forces that built them in the first place. Certain animals can live without oxygen for months. Most creatures on Earth need oxygen to survive, but some have evolved to do without it for astonishing periods. The painted turtle, for example, can hibernate underwater in frozen lakes for more than 4 months, surviving without oxygen by slowing its metabolism and switching to aerobic energy production. Some worms and small crustaceans in deep oxygen-poor sediments have adapted to extract energy in ways that bypass oxygen entirely. Even more Surprisingly, scientists have discovered tiny, jellyfish-like creatures called Aneglia sinicola that have no mitochondria, meaning they never use oxygen at all. For these animals, oxygen isn't just optional, it's irrelevant. Such adaptations allow them to thrive in environments where most life couldn't last more than a few minutes, showing that survival can take forms we wouldn't have imagined possible. Rainbows can appear as full circles from the air, from the ground. Rainbows always appear as arcs, their bases hidden by the horizon. But from above, say from an airplane or a high mountain, you can sometimes see them as perfect circles. This happens because a rainbow is really a complete ring of light created when sunlight is refracted and reflected inside raindrops. On land, the ground cups off the lower half of the circle from view from high in the air with no obstruction. The entire ring becomes visible. Pilots often see these circular rainbows, sometimes surrounding the shadow of their aircraft, a phenomenon known as a glory. It's a vivid reminder that the beauty we see is often just a fraction of the whole picture, and that perspective, quite literally, can reveal a world that's been there all along, just out of sight. Some desserts are colder than ice. When we think of desserts, we imagine scorching heat, but a dessert is defined by dryness, not temperature. The largest deserts on Earth, Antarctica and the Arctic, are frozen landscapes where precipitation is so rare they qualify as deserts. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, and windy place on the planet, with temperatures plunging below -70°C. Yet beneath the ice, microbial life persists in pockets of liquid water, and hardy lichens cling to exposed rooks. These polar deserts are as extreme as any hot desert, their beauty lying in stark contrasts. The blinding whiteness of snow under endless daylight in summer, the eerie blue glow of ice caves, and the frozen stillness that can last for centuries without change. It's a reminder that desert doesn't always mean sand and heat. Sometimes it means ice and silence. There are waterfalls that flow upward in strong winds in certain conditions. Powerful winds can catch the falling water of a tall waterfall and push it back upward, creating the surreal sight of water seemingly defying gravity. This effect is most common in coastal cliffs, where ocean winds are funneled upward against the rock face. The wind's force can be so strong that the waterfall appears to reverse its spray stir, aiming into the sky. In reality, the water isn't going back to its source. It's being broken into mist and carried away. The spectacle is fleeting, lasting only as long as the gusts hold, but it can make a familiar landscape feel transformed, as if the rules of nature had momentarily shifted. Some seeds can survive for thousands of years before growing. Seeds are nature's time capsules, protected by tough outer shells. Some can lie dormant for centuries, waiting for the right conditions to sprout. In one remarkable case, scientists revived a date palm seed found in the ruins of Masada, Israel, that was nearly 2,000 years old. Certain Arctic tundra plants produce seeds that can last even longer in frozen soil. Inside, the embryo remains suspended in a state of near zero activity. Its stored nutrients preserved. When warmth, moisture, and light return, the seed wakes up and begins to grow, bridging vast stretches of time in a single act of renewal. It's as if the plant has been holding its breath for centuries, ready to return to life when the world is ready for it. There are animals that can clone themselves. Some creatures can reproduce without mating, eating exact genetic copies of themselves. This process, called asexual reproduction, is common in simple organisms, but also occurs in more complex animals. Starfish can regenerate lost arms, and, in some cases, an entire new starfish can grow from a single limb. Certain freshwater hydras simply bud off miniature versions of themselves, while some insects can lay eggs that develop into clones without fertilization. In stable environments, cloning allows a species to multiply quickly without needing to find mates. The downside is less genetic diversity, which can make populations vulnerable to change, but in the right circumstances, it's a remarkably efficient way to ensure survival. Certain plants can count the hours of daylight. Many plants have an internal clock, a circadian rhythm that helps them keep track of time. Some use this ability to measure the length of the day, a process called photoperiodism, which tells them when to flower, grow, or shed leaves. For example, chrysanthemums bloom only when nights reach a certain length, while others wait 4 days to be long enough to ensure summer pollination. This timing can be so precise that plants kept in artificial light cycles will still open and close their flowers at the correct times, even without cues from the sun. It's a subtle intelligence allowing plants to sync their lives with the changing seasons. There are clouds heavier than mountains. A single large thundercloud can hold millions of tons of water, far outweighing an entire mountain in mass. The reason it doesn't fall all at once is that the water is suspended in tiny droplets or ice crystals spread out over a vast area and supported by rising air currents. When conditions shift, some of that water condenses and falls as rain, hail, or snow. These colossal clouds can stretch for kilometers across and tower high into the atmosphere, their tops glowing white in the sunlight, while their undersides churn with shadow. Seeing all neon the horizon, it's hard to imagine that something so airy could be so heavy. Yet they drift overhead as easily as a handful of feathers. Some creatures can survive in boiling water. In the extreme environments around deep-sea hydrothermal vents, water temperatures can reach over 100 C, hot enough to kill most life instantly. Yet, certain microorganisms called hypothermophiles thrive here. They've evolved proteins and cell structures that remain stable at extreme heat, allowing them to survive where others would disintegrate. Some live in the scalding runoff of geysers on land, such as those in Yellowstone National Park. These heat-loving microbes form the base of entire food webs, supporting tubeworms, clams, and crabs that cluster around vent openings. Studying them has revealed enzymes that can withstand temperatures far beyond what was once thought possible for life, challenging our understanding of biology and expanding our search for life in hot environments beyond Earth. In places where water boils and darkness reigns, they quietly flourish, proving that life's limits are far wider than we once believed. The ocean's deepest point, deeper than Mount Everest, is tall. Far beneath the Pacific Ocean lies the Mariana Trench, home to the Challenger Deep, the deepest known point in Earth's oceans. At nearly 11 kilometers deep, it's deeper than the height of Mount Everest above sea level. The pressure there is over 1,000 times greater than at the surface, enough to crush most submarines. The darkness is absolute, and temperatures hover just above freezing. Yet life exists even here. Tiny arthropods, strange snail fish, and resilient microbes survive in this crushing environment, feeding on organic material that drifts down from the upper ocean. Very few people have ever visited the Challenger Deep, but unmanned probes have mapped its alien landscape of slopes, trenches, and sediments. It's a reminder that some of Earth's most extreme frontiers remain largely unexplored, not in space, but in the silent depths of our own planet's oceans. Certain fish create their own underwater lid. HT shows. In the deep sea, where sunlight never reaches, many creatures produce light through bioluminescence. Some fish use it not only to lure prey or hide from predators, but also to communicate. The flashlight fish, for example, has light-producing organs under its eyes that it can blink by covering them with skin flaps. Lanternfish carry glowing patterns along their bodies, which may help them recognize one another in the darkness. Some species flash in rhythmic pulses, creating patterns like Morse code in the water. These displays can be mesmerizing, a drifting ballet of lights in total darkness, as though the ocean floor has its own constellations. In a world without sunlight, light becomes a language written in flickers and glows, telling stories we have only just begun to understand. Some plants can taste when they are being eaten. Plants may seem passive, but many can sense and respond to damage almost instantly when a caterpillar bites into a leaf. Some plants detect specific chemicals in the insect's saliva. This triggers the release of defensive compounds, bitter or toxic chemicals that make the leaf less appetizing. In some cases, the plant even emits airborne signals that warn nearby plants to activate their own defenses. This ability doesn't involve taste buds like ours, but rather chemical detection at the cellular level. To an insect, it's as if the meal suddenly turns sour mid-bite. The process shows that plants are far from unaware. They are active participants in their own survival, able to read the world in ways that are subtle but highly effective. There are places where stones move on their own. In California's racetrack playa, a dry lake bed in Death Valley, large rocks seem to slide across the ground, leaving long tracks behind them. For decades, no one knew how they moved, especially since no one had ever seen it happen. The mystery was solved when researchers discovered that, in rare winter conditions, a thin sheet of ice forms under the rocks. As the ice warms and breaks apart, light winds push the rock slowly across the slick surface. The movement is so gradual it can take hours for a rock to travel a few meters. The result is a landscape marked with strange trails, as if the stones had taken a nighttime journey across the desert floor. Certain birds can mimic almost any sound. Some birds are gifted impressionists. The lyrebird of Australia can imitate chainsaws, camera shutters, other bird calls, and even human voices with uncanny accuracy. Mockingbirds birds in North America weave dozens of different sounds into their songs, copying frogs, crickets, and car alarms. These abilities serve various purposes: attracting mates, defending territory, or simply showing off. Young birds often learn their repertoires by listening closely to their surroundings, and the best mimics can pass these loud sounds down through generations. To hear a bird in the forest mimic the exact sound of a barking dog is both surprising and oddly delightful, a reminder that nature's voices are not always what they seem. Some insects can see in ultraviolet light, while humans see only a narrow range of wavelengths. Many insects can detect ultraviolet UV light, revealing patterns invisible to us. Flowers often have UV markings that act as landing guides, pointing pollinators straight to their nectar. Bees, butterflies, and some beetles navigate partly by reading these patterns, which may look to them like glowing signs in the dark. UV vision can also help insects speak to predators or find mates. For them, the world is painted with colors and contrasts we can't imagine. The same landscapes we know, but with a hidden dimension of light. The Sahara Desert was once green and full of life. Thousands of years ago, the Sahara was not an endless expanse of sand, but a vast savanna with lakes, rivers, and grasslands. Evidence on ancient lake beds, rock art, and fossilized pollen shows that hippos, crocodiles, and early human settlements thrived there. This green Sahara existed because Earth's tilt and orbit shifted monsoon rains farther north, transforming the region. Over millennia, those patterns changed again, drying the land into the desert we know today. It's a vivid example of how climates can shift dramatically, altering entire ecosystems and the course of human history. Beneath the sand, traces of its lush past remain buried, waiting to be uncovered. There are storms that last for centuries. On Jupiter, the Greek red spot, a massive storm larger than Earth, has been raging for at least 300 years, possibly much longer. While our own planet's storms last days or weeks, Jupiter's run on a different scale, fed by the planet's turbulent atmosphere and lack of a solid surface. The storm keeps spinning with winds reaching hundreds of kilometers per hour. From space, It appears as a swirling red oval, an enduring scar in the gas giant's cloud bands. Studying it helps scientists understand not only Jupiter, but also how atmospheric systems might work. On other planets, certain frogs can turn transparent. The glass frogs of Central and South America have skin so translucent that their internal organs are visible. When resting, they can shift blood away from their skin to make themselves even more see-through, blending into leaves and avoiding predators. This ability isn't just camouflage, it also helps regulate their body temperature and protect them from UV light. Seeing one up close feels almost unreal, as if you were looking at a living anatomy model. Its heartbeat and movements are visible beneath a delicate green surface. Some trees can produce hundreds of gallons of sap in a season. Certain species, like the sugar maple, can yield vast amounts of sap each year. And late winter and early spring, when temperatures swing between freezing nights and thawing days, pressure inside the tree changes, pushing sap through its vessels. Farmers and foragers tap into this flow by drilling small holes and collecting the liquid, which is mostly water with a hint of sugar. It can take more than 40 L of sap to produce a single liter of maple syrup, but in a good season, one mature tree might produce hundreds of liters. Sap is more than just a sweet source for humans. It transports water and nutrients to every part of the tree, fueling new growth. Watching the our liquid drip steadily from a tap in a sunlit forest feels like glimpsing the tree's heartbeat, flowing in rhythm with the slow arrival of spring. There are rivers that boil deep in the Peruvian Amazo, and flows a river known as Pishka or boil. With the heat of the sun, its water can reach temperatures near 100 C, hot enough to kill small animals that fall in. Unlike volcanic hot SP rings, this river's heat comes from geothermal activity. Far underground, where water seeps deep into the earth, warms, and returns to the surface. The boiling river is over 6 kilometers long, winding through dense jungle and shrouded in steam that curls upward into the canopy. For local communities, it holds cultural and spiritual significance, but it's also a scientific curiosity, a reminder that even far from volcanoes, the Earth's heat can shape the landscape in dramatic ways. Walking its banks, you'd see leaves curling from the steam and hear the bubbling water alive with heat in the middle of the rainforest. Certain animals can live entirely in darkness, in the deepest caves and trenches. Some animals are born into a world without light and never leave it. These species often lose their eyes completely, relying instead on heightened senses of touch, smell, or vibration. The Mexican blind cabish, for example, has skin that can detect subtle changes in water movement, allowing it to navigate and find food in total darkness. Deep-sea creatures like the tripod fish use their long fins to feel along the seafloor, sensing their surroundings without seeing them. In these pitch-black environments, vision is useless, so energy is better spent on other adaptations. Life in darkness may seem limiting to us, but to these animals it is perfectly normal. A complete, thriving existence in a world beyond the reach of the sun. Some shells grow in perfect mathematical spirals. Many mollusks and other shell-producing animals follow growth patterns that create spirals so precise they can be described by mathematical formulas. The nautilus, for example, builds its shell in a logarithmic spiral, adding larger chambers as it grows while maintaining the same overall shape. This form is both strong and efficient, giving the animal protection and buoyancy control. Such spirals appear elsewhere in nature, in sunflowers, hurricanes, and galaxies, hinting at a universal tendency towards certain patterns. When you hold a shell and trace the spiral inward, you're following a path that nature has repeated on vastly different scales. From the smallest seashell to the sweeping arms of the Milky Way, there are clouds that glow in the night sky, high in the atmosphere, more than 80 kilometers above the ground. Delicate clouds sometimes shimmer are sunset with a silvery blue light. These are noctilucent clouds formed when ice crystals gather on dust particles in the upper mesosphere. They're illuminated not by the sun directly overhead, but by sunlight from beyond the horizon, glowing against the deepening twilight. Most visible at high latitudes and summer, they seem almost unreal, ghostly veils rippling in the upper sky. Scientists think they may be becoming more common, as changes in Earth's atmosphere provide more moisture at high altitudes. Watching them feels like witnessing the sky itself, breathing in silver. Spiders can sail across the ocean. Some species of spiders use silk not just for webs, but for travel in a behavior called ballooning. They release strands into the air which catch the wind and lift them off the ground. While most ballooning journeys are short, some spiders have been found hundreds of kilometers out at sea, their silk catching ocean breezes like tiny sails. Scientists believe they can survive by resting on floating debris and catching airborne insects. This ability allows spiders to colonize new islands and remote coastlines, arriving as some of the first inhabitants after volcanic eruptions or other disturbances. Watching one drift into the air, borne upward by nothing but a thread, feels like seeing an improbable voyage begin. Some animals can survive for years without food. In extreme environments, survival sometimes means enduring long periods without a meal. A cave-dwelling salamander found in parts of Europe can go without food for up to 10 years drastically slowing its metabolism. Crocodiles and certain snakes can survive more than a year without eating, living off stored body fat. Even tiny creatures like tardigrades can enter dormant state called cryptobiosis, halting almost all biological activity until conditions improve. These strategies aren't just about endurance. They allow animals to survive in habitats where food comes in rare, unpredictable bursts, proving that patience can be as important as speed in the natural world. There are forests beneath the ocean. Off the coasts of many continents lie vast underwater kelp forests, swaying gently with the currents. Giant kelp can grow over half a meter a day, reaching heights of more than 30 meters, creating a submerged canopy that shelters fish, sea otters, and countless other species. These forests act as nurseries for marine life and help protect shorelines by breaking the force of waves. Some might stray in through the kelp to give the water an emerald glow, and the movement of the fronds can feel almost hypnotic to divers. Like forests on land, they are complex ecosystems. Only here the trees are made of flexible leaf-like blades anchored to the ocean floor. Certain birds can sleep while flying. Some birds, like the frigate bird, spend days or even weeks in the air without landing. Scientists have discovered that they can rest by shutting down one half of their brain at a time, allowing them to maintain flight while still getting some sleep. This unispheric slow-wave sleep lets them glide effortlessly, riding your currents while staying alert enough to navigate and avoid danger. Even when fully asleep, they may continue circling on rising thermals, barely moving their wings. It's an adaptation that allows them to cover vast distances without pause, turning the sky itself into their bed. Some rocks can sing when the wind passes over them. In certain desert landscapes, 80 winds can set large boulders or dunes vibrating, creating deep, resonant tones that carry 4 kilometers. These singing rocks or booming dunes produce sounds that can last for minutes after a disturbance caused by grains of sand or rock surfaces rubbing together in just the right way. Marco Polo once described hearing such sounds in the Gobi Desert centuries ago. The effect is haunting, a natural low hum that seems to come from the earth itself, as if the landscape were breathing a slow rumbling song into the air. There are deserts made of pure white sand. Not all deserts are the color of golden wheat. In southern New Mexico lies White Sands National Park, a vast expanse of brilliant white dunes stretching as far as the eye can see. The sand here is made of gypsum crystals, a mineral that's rare in large dune fields because it dissolves easily in water. But in this desert basin, there's nowhere for water to flow out. So when ancient lakes evaporated, they left behind thick layers of gypsum. Over thousands of years, wind sculpted them into trickling dunes that sparkle under the sun and glow pale blue under moonlight. Walking here feels almost like stepping into snow, only the air is warm and the ground crunches softly underfoot. The whiteness is so bright it can be seen from space, a gleaming desert unlike any other on Earth. Some jellyfish can live forever. The tiny jellyfish Torotopsis doini has a remarkable ability to revert its cells to an earlier stage of life, effectively making it biologically immortal. When stressed, injured, or near death, it can revert its cells to an earlier stage of life and start its life cycle over again. Instead of dying, it essentially turns back into a juvenile polyp and begins growing anew. This process, called transfiguration, allows it to potentially avoid death from old age entirely, making it biologically immortal, though it can still be eaten or die from disease. Found in oceans on the world, these jellyfish are only a few millimeters across, their delicate bodies nearly transparent. While immortality remains more of a survival strategy than a guarantee, it's an astonishing reminder that in nature, even something as final as aging can sometimes be rewritten. Certain ants found their own food. Leafcutter ants are among the most industrious farmers on Earth. They see and carry pieces of leaves back to their underground colonies, not to eat directly, but to feed to a special type of fungus they cultivate in carefully tended gardens. The fungus breaks down and the tough plant material into food the ants can digest. This relationship is so precise that the fungus can't survive without the ants, and the ants can't survive without the fungus. Colonies can contain millions of individuals, each with a specific role, from cutting leaves to tending gardens to defending the nest. It's an entire agricultural system hidden beneath the forest floor, affected over millions of years, long before humans began farming. There are flowers that smell like rotting meat. Some plants attract pollinators not with sweet scents, but with the pungent smell of decay. The corpse flower, Amorphous titanum, can grow over 3 meters tall and releases a powerful odor that mimics rotting flesh. This smell draws in carrion beetles and flesh flies, which would normally seek out dead animals to lay their eggs. Instead, they help pollinate the flower. The bloom is rare, often appearing only once every several years, and lasts for just a couple of days. In this time, the plant eats itself to help spread the smell farther. For those who can bear the scent, it's an unforgettable sight, a massive, otherworldly bloom that uses deception to lure its helpers. Some trees can survive complete fires. In fire-prone regions, certain trees have evolved to withstand even the most intense blazes. The giant sequoias of California, for example, have thick, spongy bark that can be up to 60 centimeters thick, insulating them from heat. Some species of eucalyptus and pine have buds protected beneath their bark, allowing them to regrow quickly after fire. In fact, for many trees, fire is essential. It clears away competing plants and helps their seeds germinate. Sepia cones, for instance, open in response to heat, releasing seeds into freshly cleared nutrient soil. These adaptations turn destruction into opportunity, ensuring that fire is not an end, but a beginning. There are animals that can see Earth's magnetic field. Some species, including certain birds, sea turtles, and even dogs, appear to have the ability to detect the planet's magnetic field. This sense, called magnetoception, is thought to come from specia, L proteins in their eyes or tiny magnetic particles in their bodies. Birds use it to navigate during migration, sea turtles to return to their birthplace, and some mammals may use it to orient themselves while traveling. For these animals, the magnetic field is like an invisible map overlaying the world, guiding them across vast distances. It's a sense humans can only imagine, a constant awareness of the unseen lines that wrap around the planet. Certain lakes are so clear you can see for hundreds of feet. Some bodies of water are so pure and undisturbed that visibility stretches down for astonishing depths. Blue Lake in New Zealand, for instance, is considered the clearest natural freshwater in the world, with visibility up to 80 meters. The clarity comes from water filtered through layers of rock and sand, removing nearly all particles. In places like this, looking into the water feels like peering through glass into another world. Schools of fish seem to float in air, and the lake bed's colors appear with striking sharpness. Such pristine waters are rare and fragile, easily clouded by even small disturbances. Some whales sing songs that travel across entire oceans. Humpback whales are famous for their haunting songs, long complex sequences of sounds that can last for hours. These songs travel for hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers through the deep ocean, carried efficiently by water. Males sing most often during breeding season, and the songs can change over time, spreading through whale populations like evolving folk tunes. Research has believed they may serve to attract mates, establish territory, or communicate over long distances. Listening to a whale song recorded far from shore feels like hearing a voice from another world, slow, powerful, and resonant with the vastness of the sea. There are storms that produce blue lightning. While most lightning appears white or yellow, certain volcanic eruptions can produce vivid blue bolts. This phenomenon, known as volcanic lightning, occurs when ash particles in the eruption cloud collide, building up electrical charges. The blue color comes from the ionization of volcanic gases like sulfur dioxide. These rare storms are both beautiful and dangerous. Their eerie glow illuminates the roving ash plumes. Seen against the dark sky, blue lightning looks almost unnatural, as if the volcano was summoning fire from another realm. Certain mosses can survive in space. Some species of moss and other simple plants have shown an extraordinary ability to survive the harsh conditions of space. In experiments on the International Space Station, mosses exposed to the vacuum, radiation, and extreme temperatures of space revived once returned to normal conditions. Their resilience comes from specialized proteins and cellular structures that protect against dehydration and DNA damage. This ability makes them valuable subjects for research into how life might endure on other planets. The fact that a small green carpet of moss can survive where almost nothing else can is a quiet but powerful reminder of life's tenacity. Some mushrooms glow in the dark in forests around the world. Certain fungi produce a gentle, eerie light known as bioluminescence. This glow is the result of a chemical reaction involving luciferin, an organic sea compound also found in fireflies. Scientists believe the light may attract insects that help spread the fungus's spores, or it may deter animals that would otherwise eat them. The Bry test examples, like the foxfire fungi of North America or the Machina coryphos mushrooms of Asia, can illuminate the forest floor with a ghostly green glow on dark nights. For centuries, travelers too told stories of glowing logs in the woods, not knowing they were seeing living fungi at work. Walking through such a forest feels otherworldly, as if the ground itself is sprinkled with fallen stars shining softly until dawn. There are plants that can live entirely underwater. While many plants tolerate occasional flooding, some are fully adapted to spend their entire lives submerged. Aquatic plants like eelgrass, pondweed, and certain species of water lilies have evolved thin, flexible leaves that move with currents, and specialized tissues that carry oxygen from their leaves to their roots. These plants photosynthesize, just like land plants, but draw dissolved carbon dioxide from the water instead of the air. In clear, shallow lakes, dense meadows of underwater plants create habitats for fish, amphibians, and countless invertebrates. They also help stabilize sediments and keep water clean by absorbing excess nutrients. Though hidden from view, these underweight. Our gardens are as vital to their ecosystems as any forest above the surface. Certain insects migrate farther than any other animal. Every year, tiny globe skimmer dragonflies embark on an epic migration of over 18,000 kilometers, traveling from India across the Indian Ocean to Africa and back again. This journey, completed over multiple generations, may be the longest migration of any insect. Mama butterflies also make incredible journeys, flying thousands of kilometers from Canada and the United States to wintering grounds in central Mexico. These migrations are guided by environmental cues, like temperature, day length, and even the Earth's magnetic field. For such small creatures, the endurance and navigation required are extraordinary. Their journeys span vast distances that challenge even the largest and strongest animals, proving that size is no limit to ambition in the natural world. Some rivers disappear underground and reappear miles away in Casto landscapes where limestone bedrock is riddled with cracks and caves. Rivers can vanish into the ground, flowing unseen through subterranean passages before merging far downstream. The Puerto Princesa underground river in the Philippines travels for over 8 kilometers beneath the surface before spilling into the sea. In some cases, explorers can follow these hidden waterways through vast underground chambers, their ceilings glittering with mineral formations. These disappearing rivers shape the land above and below, carving tunnels, feeding springs, and creating unique ecosystems both in the dark and at the point where they emerge into daylight. There are forests where the trees all share the same root system. Some groves of trees aren't made up of individuals at all. They're a single organism connected underground. Aspen forests, for example, can grow from one root network, sending up new trunks called suckers. Above ground, each tree may look separate, but below they are genetically identical and share resources like water and nutrients. The largest known example is a quaking aspen colony in Utah called Pondo, which spans over 40 hectares and is estimated to be thousands of years old. This underground connection allows the forest to recover quickly from damage as new shoots rise to replace what's lost. Certain flowers change color to attract different pollinators. Some flowers shift their colors as they age, sending signals to potential pollinators. The tropical plant line Tomacamar, for example, opens with yellow flowers that later turn orange and red. Pollinators like butterflies and bees quickly learn that the younger flowers hold more nectar while older ones are less rewarding. This color shift helps ensure that pollinators focus on the flowers most likely to be fertile, improving the plant's chances of reproduction. In some alpine species, flowers change color after pollination to tell pollinators not to waste their time. A quiet visual conversation between plant and animal. Some mountains are made entirely of salt. In certain parts of the world, ancient seas evaporated millions of years ago, leaving behind massive deposits of salt. Over time, tectonic forces pushed these deposits upward into mountains. Iran's Cunimach Mount of Salt is a striking example, with gleaming white slopes strewn with mineral colors. In Bolivia, the world's largest salt flat, Salar de Uyuni, also hides raised ridges of pure salt along its edges. These salt mountains are slowly eroded by wind and rain, revealing crystalline structures and sometimes even caves within. Their origins are a reminder that today's highest places were once ocean floors. There are plants that remember past droughts. Some plants have the ability to adjust their growth and water use based on past experiences of drought. Scientists have found that after a period of severe dryness, certain plants can remember the stress through changes in their gene expression. If another drought occurs, they respond more quickly, closing their leaf pores to conserve water and activating protective chemicals. This memory doesn't involve a brain, but rather stored chemical signals that last long after the initial event. Such adaptations allow them to survive in unpredictable climates where resilience can mean the difference between survival and withering away. Certain fish can leap up waterfalls. During spawning migrations, some fish must travel upstream against powerful currents, leaping up waterfalls to reach their breeding grounds. Salmon are the most famous for this feat, launching themselves with incredible precision to land in the pools above each cascade. Smaller species like gobies in Hawaii climb waterfalls using suction, cup-like fins, inching their way up sheer rock faces. These migrations are exhausting but essential, ensuring the fish return to the exact environments where they were born. The sight of a fish hurling itself repeatedly at a roaring waterfall is a powerful display of determination in the face of gravity itself. Some deserts have lakes hidden deep below the sand. Beneath the barren surfaces of some deserts lie vast underground reservoirs called aquifers. In places like the Sahara, these hidden lakes can stretch for hundreds of kilometers, holding ancient water that fell as rain thousands of years ago. Occasionally, this water reaches the surface through springs or oases, creating pockets of green in an otherwise lifeless expanse. In other cases, it remains trapped deep far below, revealed only through deep drilling. These underground lakes are lifelines for people, animals, and plants, proving that even in the harshest landscapes, the potential for life-giving water can be quietly stored away, waiting for its moment to prowl. Return. There are animals that can survive in both boiling and freezing water. Some of the most extreme survivors on Earth live in sea conditions that swing between scorching heat and bitter cold. Certain species of extremophile microbes thrive in deep-sea hydrothermal vents, where temperatures can exceed 100 C, yet they can also endure near freezing waters between eruptions. The Antarctic ice fish lives in sub-zero seas thanks to antifreeze proteins in its blood, but similar adaptations exist in species that also tolerate high heat. Tardigrades, microscopic water bears, can survive both boiling temperatures and being frozen solid by entering a state called cryptobiosis, where their bodies dry out and metabolic activity nearly test stars. These creatures prove that life's boundaries are far more flexible than we imagine, enduring conditions that would destroy most living things and thriving in places where extremes coexist side by side. Certain birds navigate using the stars. For thousands of years, migratory birds have traveled vast distances with astonishing accuracy. Some species, like the indigo bunting, use the position of constellations around the North Star to orient themselves at night. Even young birds raised in captivity without prior migration experience can recognize these celestial cues. In the southern hemisphere, other stars serve as navigational markers. Birds combine this starlight map with their sense of Earth's magnetic field and the position of the sun to create a multi-layered navigation system. Experiments in planetariums have shown that altering the star patterns can confuse them, confirming that the night sky itself serves as their guide. It's a skill that predates human navigation, written into their instincts and perfected over countless migrations. Some animals use tools to solve problems. Tool use was once thought to be uniquely human, but many animals have woven otherwise. Chimpanzees strip leaves from twigs to make termite fishing rods. Sea otters use stones to crack open shellfish on their chests as they float. Crows drop nuts onto roads for ours to crowd, then retrieve them when it's safe. Even dolphins have been observed carrying marine sponges over their snouts to protect themselves while foraging along sharp coral. These behaviors often wreck your learning, creativity, and sometimes teaching between generations. Tool use blurs the line between instinct and problem solving, sharing that intelligence takes many forms in the animal kingdom, and that we share more with other creatures than we might expect. There are caves that breathe. In some cave systems, the air seems to move in and out as though the cave itself or alive. This breathing happens when outside air pressure changes due to weather or temperature shifts, forcing air into or out of the cave's openings. In large cave networks, the effect can be surprisingly strong enough to rustle leaves, move dust, or even blow out candles near an entrance. Mammoth Cave in Kentucky and Wind Cave in South Dakota are famous for this phenomenon. To step into one of these caves and feel the cool air exhaling from the earth is to be reminded that underground spaces are not static. They are connected to the living atmosphere above. Certain trees release scents to warn others of danger. When attacked by insects, some trees release airborne chemicals that drift to nearby trees of the same species. These neighboring trees detect the warning and respond by producing bitter or toxic compounds in their leaves, making themselves less appealing to the pests. Acacia trees in Africa are known to do this, filling the air with signals that can prompt an entire stand of trees to defend itself almost simultaneously. The same chemicals can also attract predators or parasites that target the attacking insects. It's a silent alarm system car. Read on the wind, turning a forest into a community that looks out for its members. Some oceans have underwater rivers and waterfalls beneath the sea's surface. Differences in temperature, salinity, and density can create currents that flow like rivers along the ocean floor. In some cases, these underwater rivers plunge over ledges, forming submerged waterfalls. The largest known example is in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, where dense cold water from the Arctic flows under warmer Atlantic water, dropping nearly 35,500 meters more than Dalsau, 3 times the height of Angel Falls. These hidden flows shape ocean circulation, transport nutrients, and influence global climate patterns. They are rivers and waterfalls we can never see without diving deep into the dark. There are animals that can see in complete darkness in the deep ocean and lightless caves. Some animals have eyes adapted to detect even the faintest glimmers of light or can see without leg, get all by sensing other cues. Certain deep-sea fish have enormous sensitive eyes that can catch traces of bioluminescence, while others, like some snakes, detect infrared heat signatures from prey. Cats and owls have specialized retinas and reflective layers behind their eyes, amplifying scarce light to hunt at night. These adaptations allow them to navigate, feed, and communicate in places where human eyes would see only blackness. Certain plants can release heat. Some plants, like the eastern skunk cabbage, can generate enough heat to melt surrounding snow in early spring. Ability, called thermogenesis, comes from rapid chemical reactions in the plant cells that produce warmth instead of storing energy. The heat helps attract pollinators by releasing scent and making the flower more active in cold weather. In tropical regions, other plants use heat to intensify their scent, drawing in pollinators from greater distances. While rare, this ability shows that plants can manipulate temperature in ways we usually associate only with animals. Some rocks are older than the continents. Scattered across the earth are mineral grains called zircons that date back over 4 billion years, older than the oldest known continental crust. These tiny crystals, often no bigger than a grain of sand, formed when the planet was still young, shortly after the surface cooled enough for liquid water to exist. Found in places like Western Australia, zircons have survived erosion, burial, and geological recycling, carrying within them chemical clues about Earth's earliest conditions. Holding one is like holding a fragment of the planet's childhood. There are insects that can walk on water. Water striders with their long, delicate legs can skim across the surface of ponds and streams without sinking. This is possible because their legs are covered in microscopic hairs that repel water, combined with the surface tension of the water itself. By using rapid control movements, they glide effortlessly to catch prey or escape predators. Watching them dart across a still surface is like seeing tiny skaters performing in a liquid stage. Each movement creates perfect ripples in their wake. Certain forests can make their own clouds. In some tropical regions, vast forests help create the clouds that hover above them. Trees release water vapor through a process called transpiration, sending moisture into the air. When this vapor cools, it condenses into clouds, and in dense forests like the Amazon, this cycle repeats daily. The clouds not only provide rain for the forest itself, but also influence weather far beyond, carrying moisture thousands of kilometers away. Scientists have even observed that deforestation can reduce cloud formation, altering entire climate systems. From above, these forest-made clouds look like soft blankets floating over green seas of leaves, each one a product of countless tiny breaths from the living world. Below, some animals can recognize themselves in mirrors. Self-recognition was once thought to be uniquely human, but several animals can pass the mirror test out when shown a mirror. Great apes, dolphins, elephants, and even certain birds like magpies can use their reflection to inspect parts of their bodies they can't normally see. This suggests a level of self-awareness, the understanding that this is me. In experiments, animals marked with a small, harmless spot on their body will often use the mirror to investigate or try to remove it. While not all creatures pass this test, those that do hint at a kind of consciousness we're only beginning to understand. There are plants that can eat small animals. Carnivorous plants such as the Venus flytrap, sundew, and pitcher plant have evolved ingenious traps to digest animals, mostly insects, but occasionally small frogs or lizards. They live in nutrient-poor soils, so they gain extra nitrogen and minerals from their prey. Each species has its own hunting strategy: sticky leaves, snapping traps, or deep pitches filled with digestive fluid. Once an animal is caught, the plant slowly breaks it down over days, absorbing what it needs to survive. These adaptations are not about aggression, but survival, allowing plants to thrive where others would starve. In lakes are filled with water so dense it's almost impossible to sink. In some hypersaline lakes like the Dead Sea between Israel and Jordan, the water's salt concentration is so high, but it's far denser than the human body. This density allows people to float effortlessly on the surface without treading water. The same properties make these lakes inhospitable to most aquatic life, though some microorganisms can survive in the salty depths. Swimming here feels strange, more like lying on a thick cushion than moving through water. And the buoyancy is so strong at sea and hold you upright without effort. Some birds build structures more complex than human houses. Male bowerbirds in Australia are famous for constructing elaborate bowers to attract mates. Arctur hut-like structures decorated with shells, flowers, feathers, and even bits of colorful plastic they find. Each male develops his own style, arranging objects by size, shape, or color to impress females. Weaver birds, meanwhile, create intricately woven nests suspended from branches with entry tunnels designed to deter predators. These awaken architects work with precision and creativity, while building homes and displays that rival human craftsmanship in beauty and complexity. There are stones that grow over time. In certain parts of Romania, unusual rock formations called torrents seem to grow, changing shape and size over decades. After heavy rain, these stones can appear to sprout new layers caused by mineral-rich water seeping through their porous structure and depositing additional material. While the growth incredibly slow, just a few millimeters a year, it challenges our perception of rocks as unchanging. Left alone for centuries, these stones can grow large enough to split or develop strange bulbous shapes, as if the landscape itself were alive and restless. Certain creatures have existed unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Some species are so perfectly adapted to their environments that they've remained virtually unchanged for immense spans of time. Horseshoe crabs, for example, have been walking the earth for over 400 million years, surviving multiple mass extinctions. The coelacanth, the deep-sea fish once thought extinct, still swims in much the same form it did over 300 million years ago. These living fossils are rare reminders that evolution doesn't always mean change. Sometimes it means finding a design so effective that it endures across geological ages. Some places on Earth have never been touched by humans. Even in our era of satellites and global travel, there are parts of the planet where no human has ever set foot. Some are remote mountain peaks, hidden caves, or deep ocean trenches. Hers are isolated islands or stretches of rainforest so dense they remain inaccessible. These untouched places serve as living time capsules holding ecosystems undisturbed for thousands of years. They remind us that despite our reach, much of Earth still belongs entirely to itself. There are rivers beneath the ice of Antarctica. Beneath Antarctica's massive ice sheets, hidden rivers and lakes flow in darkness. These subglacial waterways are kept liquid by geothermal heat from below and the immense pressure of the overlying ice. Some of these rivers connect large lakes, creating entire hidden drainage systems. Scientists study them by drilling carefully through the ice, revealing microbial life that has been isolated for millions of years. These secret rivers show that even in one of the coldest, driest places on Earth, water still moves and life still persists. Some deserts sing when the wind blows over their dunes. In a few sandy deserts, steady winds or shifty sand can produce deep humming tones that carry 4 kilometers. This singing or booming sound happens when grains of a certain size and dryness slide together in large numbers, creating a resonant vibration. The sound can be loud enough to feel in your chest, like a musical note played by the landscape itself. Marco Polo described such sounds during his travels through the Gobi Desert centuries ago, and they remain one of the strangest and most beautiful natural phenomena in arid lands. And so our slow journey through the hidden wonders of nature comes to a gentle close. We've wandered from ancient trees to glowing bays, from deserts that sing to forests that breathe, discovering along the way that life's creativity knows no bounds. Some of these stories were about survival, plants and the animals adapting to extremes, finding ways to live where life seems impossible. Others were about beauty, colors, patterns, and landscapes that feel like they were painted just to be seen. And many were about mystery, things we can explain only in part, leaving space for wonder to keep growing. As you rest now, you might picture the quiet pulse of a bioluminescent bay at night, or the slow turning of a forest canopy making its own clouds. You might drift through an underwater kelp forest, or stand beneath an ancient tree that's seen more seasons than we can count. The world is full of places you may never visit, yet they exist all the same, thriving, shifting, and holding their secrets until someone takes the time to look. And the truth is, you don't have to go far to find them. Sometimes wonder is right outside your door, waiting in the rustle of leaves or the cool scent of rain. Thank you for letting me share these moments with you tonight. If you happen to still be awake, you can go ahead and watch the next video now, but if your eyes are heavy and your thoughts are drifting, you can let them go. Nature will still be here when you wake, patient, timeless, and endlessly full of stories. Good night.